Kadarius Toney era for the New York Giants is now over. And it was a short one, as he is traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for a compensatory third-round pick and a sixth-round pick. And it's not shocking that Toney was traded. It was very obvious that Joe Schoen was looking to move him, maybe even as early as the offseason. So he made it until, I guess, midway through the season. But it's disappointing on the one hand. This was a first-round pick, the number 20 overall selection by Dave Gettleman in 2021. And Toney, the Giants traded down as part of that Chicago Bears trade. And, I didn't love the pick at the time, but for the wrong reasons. Kadarius Toney has a ton of talent. And maybe that was part of the reason why he went where he did. But Toney is a very, very, very skilled football player. But there was definitely a disconnect. I think you have to somewhat question his desire to play football. Now, the New York Giant situation wasn't exactly the best. But even now with, a 6-1 team, it still doesn't seem like it mattered. Now he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs with Pat Mahomes. They're looking for a Tyreek Hill type level replacement. So this could be, I really feel like he either totally is amazing or is a complete bust. And honestly, I'm leaning towards him being more of a bust. There's always something going on with him. Injuries were a major thing. Now he's claiming that he wasn't hurt, which I kind of believe. He may not, the whole thing was kind of weird. It was a hamstring injury. There was definitely something going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about. And the Chiefs have a bye this week. I would expect him to be fully healthy, but how will it last? I think it's an interesting trade for both teams. It's a pretty solid return for the Giants for a player that really, in their mind, wasn't going to do a whole lot. I mean, this year, he played the first two games sparingly. He was fully healthy. It was weird, that Titans game where, he ended up with 2 carries for 23 yards, no targets. And then the Carolina game, 2 receptions and 3 targets and 0 yards. So I guess one of them was a 2-yard. And then essentially Kadarius Toney did nothing this season for the Giants. Despite the fact that they're off to a really good start. Definitely wouldn't have thought that those two things would happen. So yeah, his stats this year, 2 catches for no yards. And we are 7 weeks into the season. So Toney last season health was a problem there as well, where he plays in week 1 against the Broncos. It's funny, doesn't do a whole lot, but he was a rookie. It was a different feeling at the time. And it was kind of funny, 2 catches for negative 2 yards. So kind of similar. Then he's out against Washington. And then against the Falcons, 3 catches for 16 yards. He really bursts onto the scene the next couple of weeks. This is where you start to see what Toney can do. Against the Saints, which was an overtime win for the Giants, he goes 6 catches for 78 yards. So and then really it was the Cowboy game where the Giants lost. He even got ejected in this game, but Toney, 10 catches, 189 yards. A lot of this actually was from Mike Glennon. It was Jones got hurt in this game, so then at this point there's a lot of excitement for Toney. At this point you're about 5 weeks into the season, and the next week against the Rams he gets hurt. He was getting going early. He had 3 catches for 36 yards. Then we don't see him until Monday Night Football against the Chiefs, his new team, and he doesn't do a whole lot. 4 catches for 26 yards. The next week against the Raiders, only 1 catch for 9 yards. A few weeks later, at Tampa, also on Monday night, 7 catches for 40 yards. So 12 targets. They were throwing to him a lot, but didn't really do a whole lot with it. And then a month later against the Eagles, when the season was over, 4 catches, 28 yards. It was a bit of a mess through injuries and definitely behind-the-scenes stuff. Look, Toney, it depends how you look at it. His encounters with the media were pretty funny, depending on how, but Toney is a different sort of dude. He really is. There's on the field potential, so much on the field potential, but really, you don't really know if he's going to suit up Sunday to Sunday or, thereabouts. And that's kind of the issue there. So I think it was good the Giants cut ties. As much as I would have wanted it to work, it wasn't gonna. It simply was not going to work here. Whether he was healthy or not, I think they were done with him. I think he was done with the Giants. And if it doesn't work with the Chiefs, I don't know if it really will work anywhere, because that's about as good as it gets. Playing with Patrick Mahomes in a really good situation there, where they have Juju Smith-Schuster. There's some other guys, but they're looking for that Tyreek Hill type replacement, and Toney could be. I mean, he won't. I mean, those are tough shoes to fill, but it's as close to it as it gets. And Toney, who will be under contract for a few more years after this one. So this is a long-term move for Kansas City. Maybe Kadarius Toney will clean up his act. It's not as if he necessarily got into trouble off the field in his Giant tenure, but also someone that, you just felt like something bad was going to happen. I didn't really trust Kadarius Toney, and so now he's a Kansas City Chief, and to get a third-round pick, a late one. This was a compensatory pick that the Chiefs had originally acquired when Ryan Poles became general manager of the Chicago Bears. So this will be a late third-round pick, but it's a good return for. It depends how you look at it. It sucks that Toney didn't work out, right? But if you take that part aside, it's not nothing. And it's tough. As the seller, you don't really usually get a whole lot in return. This is not terrible. A third-round pick and a sixth, regardless of how Toney becomes with the Chiefs, because it wasn't going to work out with the Giants. There's just no way that it was going to. And it's funny, now Kadarius Toney, he's tweeting that he was actually not hurt. He is a complete wild card, and the Chiefs are going to have to kind of keep him in check a bit. And how will he respond to that? Because Toney is he can be a headache. I feel like he was a headache to Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, and they figured, let's just, not even have him be around anymore. The longer, if they waited any longer, I'm not sure what they would have gotten back for him. So, like I said, I think this could be a trade that from a Chiefs perspective, I think it's worth a shot. And I think initially he'll be excited. But then if things start going south, watch out. You might not see him again. And, don't trust the injury report with him because it always seemed weird to me how, he was just out week after week. Nothing really made sense. Maybe one day we'll find out what really went on, but there's definitely stuff that we don't know about with Kadarius Toney. But I like that the Giants, they want to build a team of character guys and people who want to be there. And I think that's been a big reason for their success. And Toney was not a part of that equation. Now, if the Giants could get rid of Kenny Golladay, they would, but that contract is a disaster. So, you just have to kind of, I don't even know. I think that Golladay will return this year, and I'm sure they'll give him somewhat of a chance, but that's a bit of a messy situation as well. But I don't think Golladay goes anywhere. The interesting thing now is, with this draft capital that they received, will the Giants try to trade for a wide receiver? I still lean no, but maybe something minor. I still think that it's, as much as they're off to a great start and they want to improve the team, I don't know. You're hearing you hear names like Jerry Jeudy. I don't think they go in that direction. I really don't, even though they definitely need it. I want them to. Don't get me wrong. I want the Giants to trade for a wide receiver. They're really thin there. And so it's possible with this trade. I don't think it's necessarily a precursor, though. I think that this was an individual move. I don't think this was meant as a two-part thing. All right, now they trade for a receiver. I don't think it works like that. I don't think they're seeing it that way. If it happens, great. But, good job by Joe Schoen to even get something for this guy. I was tired of him. Really wanted it to work out. The Giants needed him, and it didn't matter. He really continued to not suit up each game, and the Giants continue to win without him. So, and I don't expect that to change. So, good luck to Kadarius Toney in Kansas City. It didn't work out with the Giants after a tumultuous 1.5 seasons where he barely played for this team. And, he had that amazing Cowboys game that we'll always remember. And even in that game, he got ejected. But we'll see what happens. But again, Kadarius Toney to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Giants receive, and these are both 2023 picks, a 3rd-round pick and a 6th-round pick in return. And with the trade deadline being less than a week away, we'll see if the Giants have anything else up their sleeve.